Hello there, and welcome back to the channel. Mad Mike here, and today we're going to be discussing some recent news on the Transformers front. So recently, there's been a couple of big stories, so I'll cover both of those in this video. The first is going to be the story about the Bumblebee film. Now, originally, when that film was developed, it was developed as a spin-off slash prequel to the Transformers universe that was created by Michael Bay. And that was really supposed to, obviously it was the same Bumblebee character. It was just supposed to be set a little earlier in the timeline in the 80s. And they were going to include some kind of classic Transformers. It was a bit closer to the 80s cartoon series than the current iteration of Bay films. And the movie was ultimately pretty successful. It was one of the more successful Transformers movies to date. Because they have been going down considerably in revenue since, I believe, the third one. I think the third one was the one where the total revenue return was starting to decrease. So this film was relatively successful, but again, it was touted as a spin-off. That's what it was created as. It wasn't meant to really be anything more. But now Hasbro has announced that they are going to do a soft reboot of the Transformers series, and they're going to start with the Bumblebee film as a starting off point. So this could actually be very, very good because look, here's the thing, and then just before I get into it, a soft reboot, just to explain that, is basically they're not 100% rebooting the series. But what they're doing is they're kind of doing it again and just tweaking some stuff. It's kind of like when you have a retcon in a comic book. A soft reboot, like the universe still exists how you think it exists, but they're just rewriting some things. So that's essentially what I take this as. And that could be good or bad, but here's the thing: is that the most important thing is that Michael Bay is not involved. Now, look, I have mixed feelings about Michael Bay as a director. I don't think he can write a script. I don't think he can do humor correctly. I think he can direct action, which is his strongest point, and you see that in films. I think you should not let him near pyrotechnics ever, because he overdoes it to the point of nauseum. But, with the new Bumblebee movie, which is under a different director, I think you could use it as a jumping off point. And I think if you make maybe do this movie, do a little bit more establishment, do like a low key movie, maybe do something set back on Cybertron during that time period or something like that. I think you could definitely do a successful reboot of this franchise, especially since it's gotten so stale with viewers. But Bumblebee, I think, is a good starting off point. I think Hasbro has a decent idea going forward with this. Now, that's kind of the good news. The semi-bad news. So the other thing that they're doing is there's going to be an animated trilogy of films that are going to be premiering on Netflix. Now, the films themselves are going to be they've already tapped Rooster Teeth Productions to head and they'll be doing the production of the show. Now, the actual animation, the trilogy of films. Now, the actual animation is going to be done by Polygon Studios. Now, this is where things get a little shaky for me. Polygon Studios is the same studio that did work for the Star Wars Resistance television series, the one with the god-awful looking aesthetic. They might have gone cheap on it. I could see that maybe they went cheap on it. As long as they're not doing, because this seems like it's something that's going to take place on Cybertron. I don't know if it's going to follow the War for Cybertron games. That would be interesting to see if that was the story that they went with. And if they do go with that, I think I love both of those games, War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron. So if they went with either one of those, I think that would be great. But the point is that this studio does not necessarily have a good track record, at least not in my eyes, and not in many people's eyes. But the thing is that all they're doing is the animation. They're not writing it. They're not doing the voice acting. Again, we have no idea who the voice actors are going to be for this project as of right now. We have no idea what the script is going to look like, and we haven't seen a trailer. There's only been an announcement. So we really don't know a whole lot other than the fact it's going on Netflix and there's going to be 3 animated films that will be being produced on Netflix. But the other thing that I'm kind of confident in is that Transformers really since the first Transformers film in 2007, it's been going pretty strong on TV for the most part. You had the Transformers animated show that was on there, which got relatively positive ratings. You had the Transformers Prime show, which was on, I think, for 4 or 5 seasons, and again, that got very high ratings at the time. So, I mean, there's some good there. I think there's some good there, and I think if you have the same teams that were behind those films or behind those shows in terms of the storytelling, which they are getting a few Transformers voice actors to come back. So if they are not voice actors, writers to come back. So if they got some continuity working there, which is good. So overall, this thing, the only thing that really bugs me is that they have Polygon Studios doing this because of the very, very bad looking aesthetics of Star Wars Resistance. And I'm worried that could translate into the Transformers show. So even if you have a very well written show, if the animation feels like it's off, I think that could very much ruin the show. It could ruin the experience. But again, we haven't seen a trailer, we haven't seen the animation in action, so we don't 100% know what it's going to look like. I do have some trust in Rooster Teeth, even though they've kind of they've been involved in the whole Vic Mignogna situation. But again, that's kind of from a third-party perspective. They really just wanted to wash their hands of that situation, so I don't exactly blame them for dropping him. It was more. I feel like it was more of a PR move. But tell me what you think about these projects in the comments below. Tell me if you would be excited for a Transformers reboot or the films that will be going on Netflix. And remember to hit the like button, hit the bell for notifications, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?